So hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ames's Corner. How you all doing out there? So all the talk of that other Sonnet that fell through was all rusted had me appreciate mine a little more. So it's a beautiful Sunday up here in New England, and I figured today would be a good day to take a nice little Sunday drive in my own Sonnet. It occurs to me I never really take any drives in it. I never really show you guys me enjoying this car. So I got some camera mounts set up. Let's take a little drive around the block, shall we? joke I use with this car. They're not really that uncommon. They were a very limited production vehicle, but they're out there. They're out there. If you search Craigslist reasonably often, you'll see them in your area, pretty much everywhere. Maybe a little more common up here in the northeast of America. These cars were really big in Maine and Alaska, of all places. Maybe because that's where the powers that be at Saab thought the climate was the same or very similar to Trollhättan, Sweden. So they figured they were a really popular car there, they'd be a really popular car here. But yeah, these cars really, they're not really valuable. I find the value of these cars to be right about the same of a comparable condition Volkswagen Beetle. And I really think that's more because of not a lot of people knew about these cars. There was such a limited production and not a lot of people have seen them. Not a lot of people remember them. And I think that's why the value is so low, is because it's just, I wouldn't say they're not desirable. People that want the cars or know the cars, they're desirable. But I think just the general public doesn't know about them. And that's why the value or that's why the demand hasn't been seen, and we haven't seen the value increase. The more these cars get out there, the more the value is going to increase. Just a little stoplight racing, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. Question I get with this car is, does it have the freewheeling transmission, and do I use it? Yes it does have the freewheeling transmission, and yes, I use the freewheeling transmission all the time. I'm using it right now. What the freewheeling transmission is, the best way I can think to explain it is to use the analogy of a 10-speed bicycle. Whereas you're pedaling the bicycle, and when you pedal, the bike moves forward. When you stop pedaling, the pedals, your legs stop, but the bicycle continues to roll forward without any drag. Whereas a fixie, if anybody knows what a fixie bicycle is, that's a bicycle where the chain and sprockets are directly connected to the rear wheel. So if you stop pedaling, the pedals are still going to move your legs. The analogy would be, this would be like a 10-speed bike, and every other manual transmission out there would be like a fixie, where you let off the throttle, the engine slows down and slows the car down. That gives you engine braking. With the freewheel transmission, there is no engine braking whatsoever. I let off the throttle, and the engine returns to an idle. The car still coasts along at the same velocity. There's a lever right under the dash, kind of near the gas pedal, that I can pull out and in to switch between freewheel or regular normal standard transmission locked in final drive. the engine engine, the rotating assembly, are going to get more oil than others at different RPM ranges. So what you were supposed to do is get up to speed, say 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, let off the throttle like we are now, and the car would coast, wouldn't lose much momentum, but the engine would drop down, cool down, the oil in the fuel would have a chance to lubricate more of the motor, and you would let the engine lube up, you'd let its exhaust temperatures come down a bit, and then when you needed to get back up to speed again, you just stepped on the throttle and away you went with a nice lubed up engine. Now, you could do the same thing with a regular manual transmission. You just push the clutch in or put it in neutral. The same net, same outcome. The engine will idle, the vehicle still continues. But I think Saab wanted to make it so that you didn't have to think about it. You just let off the throttle a little and coast away. One of the benefits of keeping this transmission is that it helps give you better fuel mileage. The engine, you can be doing 65 miles an hour down the highway. You got a little bit of a downgrade. You just let off the throttle, let the engine idle. You're still doing 65 miles an hour, even though the engine's now just sipping fuel at an idle. So, one question I personally have, and I'm really not sure as to why they would keep these transmissions in service on the V4 cars. The only thing I can think of, and it's a very Saab reason, is it's such a strong transmission to begin with, and it was used in every one of their vehicles for a long time. I think the reasoning was they had them. The transmission was already designed, was already being produced. They already had probably a whole warehouse full of them, and they said, well, why don't we just use them? Makes sense to me. Well, alright guys, that was just a fun little Sunday morning drive and a little chat about some Saabs. Yeah, if you guys want to see more of that type of video where I'm just driving my car around or driving other cars around from the inside and talking about them, I kind of like doing that. It's just a little tough to get the facts out straight sometimes while you're driving, but if I made any mistakes, I beg my pardon. And until next time guys, keep it out of the cabbage.